Ahlan wa sahlan wa barakallahu fikum. Let us continue here in the Tafsir of Surat Maa'idah. And we are starting from Ayah 14. And the author says, starting with the word of God Almighty, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ومن الذين قالوا إنا نصارى أخذنا ميثاقهم. And from those who said, indeed, we are Nasara. Yani, they're saying, we are the Christians, or we are Christians. But the word Nasara has two usages. And the context will make you know what it means. Either it refers to the Muslims who followed Jesus, or it refers to the non-Muslims who perverted the religion of Jesus, like the ones who exist at the time we live in now. So those are Nasara, and they are Nasara. Just like we say Yahud sometimes refers to the Muslims who followed Moses, and sometimes refers to the non-Muslims who perverted his religion. وَمِنَ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّا نَصَارَى أَخَذْنَا مِيثَاقَهُمْ. And from those who said, indeed, we are Nasara, we took their covenant. فَنَسُوا حَظًّا مِّمَّا ذُكِّرُوا بِهِ. Then they forgot a share of that about which they were reminded, yani that about which they were commanded in the Injil. So this ayah is continuing the theme of the covenant, the taking of the covenant and breaking it also on the part of some people. In the previous ayahs, if you remember, there is mentioning of the covenant that the believers made with the Messenger of Allah, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And also is mentioned the covenant of the children of Israel, or one of them out of others. And here is now mention of a covenant taken from those who said, Inna Nasara, we are Nasara, we are Nazarenes, we are Nazarenes. فَنَسُوا حَظًّا مِّمَّا ذُكِّرُوا بِهِ. Then they forgot a share of that about which they were reminded, that about which they were commanded in the Injil. فَأَغْرَيْنَا بَيْنَهُمُ الْعَدَاوَةَ وَالْبَغْضَاءَ إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. So we instigated enmity and hatred between them until resurrection day, because of their disuniting and their conflicting beliefs. Yani, when they perverted the religion and broke into sects, Allah Ta'ala made the varying sects of Christians enemies of each other. And so they hate each other until the end of the world. Although the Christians won't last after Jesus comes back. When Jesus comes back, everyone in the world will become Muslims. وَسَوْفَ يُنَبِّئُهُمُ اللَّهُ بِمَا كَانُوا يَصْنَعُونَ. And Allah shall inform them in the afterlife about what they used to do. يَا أَهْلَ الْكِتَابِ قَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولُنَا يبين لكم كثيرا مما كنتم تخفون من الكتاب. O people of the book, there has come to you our messenger, clarifying much of what you were concealing from the book, such as the description of Muhammad, and such as the rules of stoning. You know, sometimes when it says Ahlul Kitab or Ahlul Kitab in the Quran, it refers to the Jews in particular. But Ahlul Kitab are Jews and Christians, the people of the book. Here's referring to Jews, as per the example. Like hiding the description of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and hiding the rules of stoning. وَيَعْفُو عَنْ كَثِيرٍ, and he leaves much of what you concealed unclarified, because it is unnecessary and it only serves to expose you. Yani Allah clarifies much of what the people of the book hid, and he left much of what they hid unclarified, because there's no need to go into all of those details, and it only further exposes them. قد جاءكم من الله نور وكتاب مبين, and there has come to you from Allah a light and a clarifying book. That light is the Quran, for it eradicates the darkness of polytheism and doubt, and it clarifies the truth that was ambiguous to the people. And referring to the Quran here as a light may mean that the Quran is obviously miraculous. It is also possible that the light here, the Nur, is Muhammad, because by him there is guidance. And for that he was called in another ayah a siraj, a lantern, because he's a guide. And then if you interpret the Nur here as light, the Nur here that means light as Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, then some extremists would say, look, here is clear evidence that Prophet Muhammad is made of light. And they won't budge here. They will not budge. You'd be surprised and frustrated that they will not budge here. Although the word light has a figurative meaning and an appropriate one for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, since light figuratively refers to guidance. But they will insist that it means no. It only means that he is a literal light. And if you don't say that he is a light or made of light, then you have degraded him. That's their creed. يهدي به الله من اتبع رضوانه سبل السلام. By it, Allah guides whoever pursues his acceptance by believing. Whoever pursues God's acceptance by believing, Allah guides those to the paths of safety. وَيُخْرِجُهُم مِّنَ الظُّلُمَاتِ إِلَى النُّورِ بِإِذْنِهِ وَيُخْرِجُهُم مِّنَ الظُّلُمَاتِ إِلَى النُّورِ بِإِذْنِهِ, and he takes them from the darknesses of blasphemy to the light of faith by his permission, by his will. وَيَهْدِيهِمْ إِلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ, and he guides them to a straight path, a correct religion. That straight path is a correct religion. That means a right religion, which is the only one. The correct religion. Yeah, we can put the back there. The one and only correct religion. لقد كفر الذين قالوا إن الله هو المسيح ابن مريم. By God, blasphemed have those who said that Allah is the Masih, the son of Mary. So that's an ayah for you. This is Surat Maa'idah, ayah 17. For some ignorant person who claims to be a Muslim and he tells you the Christians are believers. Christians of this time are believers. You tell him they are not believers. They are kuffar and they are mushriks. And here's an ayah for you, among others too. Blasphemed have those who said that Allah is the Masih, the son of Mary. قل فمن يملك من الله شيئا إن أراد أن يهلك المسيح ابن مريم وأمه إن أراد أن يهلك المسيح ابن مريم وأمه ومن في الأرض جميعا. Say, then who possesses anything from Allah if he will to destroy the Messiah? Meaning, who can deter his power and will in any way whatsoever if he will to destroy the Messiah, son of Mary, and to destroy his mother, and to destroy whoever is on earth entirely? No one does. And had Jesus been God, he would have possessed that. وَلِلَّهِ مُلْكُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَمَا بَيْنَهُمَا. And to Allah belongs the dominion of heavens and earth and what is between them, including Jesus, because Jesus is amongst what is in heavens and earth. So he belongs to God. He is a possession and an ownership of God. So then he's not God, nor is he the son of God, because one does not own his child. You do not own your child. No one owns his own child. Had Jesus been God's child, then God would not have owned him. But God does own him, and therefore he is not God's child. يَخْلُقُ مَا يَشَاءُ. He creates whatever he wills. He may create something from nothing, like he created the original water, not from any created origin. And he may create something from something else, like he creates people from other people. And he creates beings from males and from females. He may create a being from a mere female, which is the case of Jesus, who was created without a male. And he may create something from a mere male, which is the case of Eve, because she was created from Adam without a female, and Adam is not her father. And Allah may create a being without any prior male or female, as he created Adam. And he creates anything he wills, like the creation of the bat through the hand of Jesus as a miracle of his. Allah created a bat through the hand of Jesus. And Allah created the she-camel from a boulder in the story of Salih. Thus, there is no objection to him, and he is the doer of whatever he wills, and he has power over everything. وَاللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. And Allah is over everything powerful. وَقَالَتِ الْيَهُودُ وَالنَّصَارَى نَحْنُ أَبْنَاءُ اللَّهِ وَأَحِبَّاؤُهُ. And the Jews and Christians said, we are like the sons of Allah in status, and we are his beloveds. This is an important ayah to know. This expression, when they said, Nahnu abna'ullah, we are the sons of Allah, this is explicit blasphemy. Explicit blasphemy, regardless of their intention in saying it. Yani, some Muslims gonna fall into an issue here. If you didn't learn enough and reached me about someone, hopefully they didn't fall into kufr. What happened? One of our mashayikh, Sheikh Jib, yeah, he said, you don't ask them what they meant. If they said, we are God's children, you don't ask them what they meant, meaning, that's true. That's accurate what he said. You don't ask them what they meant. Why? Because no matter what they meant, it's blasphemy. No matter what they meant, it's blasphemy. That's why you don't ask them what they meant. If they said, we are God's children, it reached me that someone said, yeah, you can ask them what they meant. That's what I'm talking about. Y'all always want to call somebody a kafir. That's a kufr. That's explicit kufr. And then yani, someone would say, because someone might say that he's the son of God, he means not a real son of God, not a real child of God. He means something else, something figurative, like someone who's very accepted to God, a special one to God. That's true. He might mean that, but problem is still blasphemy. See how somebody will slip? Still kufr. You can't say it. That's explicit kufr. Son of God or child of God or daughter of God, that's explicit blasphemy. Can't say it. So there's no point in asking, well, what did you mean? Did you mean that you just have special status to God in your opinion? Even if that's what he meant, still blasphemy. The words are kufr. And maybe somebody fell into something. Hopefully somebody didn't fall into something there. This ayah, keep it close because it is documented in some of the tafsirs. First of all, the scholars, they said in this ayah, they did not mean literal sons. That's why it says like here. And we're citing Jalalain because, when we worked on this tafsir here, we used certain tafsirs, like the tafsir of An-Nasafi, the tafsir of Jalalain, and some other tafsirs. But even, so this ayah, the scholars, they said, this, they did not mean that in this ayah, they didn't mean real literal children of God. But what they said still kufr though. It's still kufr though. It's still kufr though. So don't slip there. Don't be an arrogant one always looking for something to criticize. And then you get carried away and then you fall into a massive blunder. قُلْ فَلِمَ يُعَذِّبُكُم بِذُنُوبِكُمْ. Say to them, Muhammad, then why shall he torture you for your sins? Would a father deform his beloved son or teach him manners by burning him? If they were God's children and God's beloveds, then would would a loving father torture his child with fire? No, he would not. And would he deform his child? Would he mutilate his child, for example? No, he would not. If he's a loving father, he's not going to mutilate his child. So Allah is telling them, this is not the case. What you think of yourselves is not the case. The case is, بَلْ أَنْتُمْ بَشَرٌ مِّمَّنْ خَلَقَ. You are humans among those whom He created. That's all you are. You're not more than mere humans. You are creatures that God created. Some type of creature that Allah gave you an advantageous shape and installed in you an intellect and then made you able to accomplish many feats. That's all you are. If you die as a kafir, He will torture you severely forever. يغفر لمن يشاء ويعذب من يشاء. He forgives whomever He wills and tortures whomever He wills. وَلِلَّهِ مُلْكُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَمَا بَيْنَهُمَا. And to Allah belongs the dominion of heavens and earth and what is between them. وَإِلَيْهِ الْمَصِيرُ. And to Him is the fate. To Allah belongs the outcome of everything. This draws attention to Jesus being the slave of Allah because being a child is contrary to being a possession. That's what we already said. يا أهل الكتاب قد جاءكم رسولنا يبين لكم على فترة من الرسل. O people of the book, there has come to you our messenger clarifying for you after an intermission from the messengers. If what he clarifies is the religious laws, then that was omitted because it is obvious. He comes to you clarifying for you. Clarifying what? The rules. That's obvious. If what he clarifies is what they hide, meaning taking into consideration prior verses, prior ayat, then that was omitted, means not mentioned here because it was previously mentioned, meaning yubayyinu lakum, clarifying for you. This verb requires a direct object. What did he clarify? It's not mentioned here. So if what he clarified is the rules, then it's not mentioned here because it's obvious. And if what he clarified is something mentioned already, it's not mentioned here because it was already mentioned. Clarifying what they used to hide. It is even possible that what he clarifies does not need a specific determination, and that the meaning is that he exerts clarification. He's a clarifier in general. He came to you as a clarifier without any need to specify one thing over another. على فترة من الرسل, after an intermission from the messengers, meaning that the revelation had been cut off for some time. Between Jesus and Muhammad was a period of 560 or 600 years, yani more than 500 years between Jesus and Muhammad without a renewed message. So Allah sent a messenger after an intermission, clarifying for you. أن تقولوا ما جاءنا من بشير ولا نذير, lest you say, meaning so that you do not say, there did not come to us any herald of good news, nor a warner. فَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ بَشِيرٌ وَنَذِيرٌ, do not make an excuse, for there has come to you a herald of good news and a warner. There did indeed come a messenger to you. وَاللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ, and Allah is over everything, including punishing you for not following the messenger, powerful. وَإِذْ قَالَ مُوسَى لِقَوْمِهِ يَا قَوْمِ اذْكُرُوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ إِذْ جَعَلَ فِيكُمْ أَنْبِيَاءَ. And when Moses said to his people, O my people, remember the endowment of Allah upon you, when he made prophets among you. Allah did not dispatch as many prophets to any nation as he dispatched to the children of Israel. Most of the prophets were Israelites. If someone were to say Jewish prophets, it doesn't mean that they had a religion other than Islam. That statement can only be correct if it means Jewish in race, by their tribe, not by religion. They were Muslims, nothing more than Muslims in religion. وَجَعَلَكُمْ مُلُوكًا, and he made you kings. The meaning of Allah making them kings is that after the death of Pharaoh, Allah gave them his dominion, Also, after the vanquishing of the colossal tyrants, he gave them their dominion. Furthermore, kings flourished among them as much as the prophets did. They had many kings. وَآتَاكُم مَّا لَمْ يُؤْتِ أَحَدًا مِّنَ الْعَالَمِينَ. And he gave you what he did not give to anyone else in the world, like the splitting of the sea and the drowning of their enemy, and sending to them the manna and the quails, and shading them by the cloud, and the likes of those amazing matters if you know their story. Maybe you don't know what the manna and the quails are and what is the reference to them being shaded by the cloud. We'll come inshallah. We already went over it actually, but you might be joining us now. In Surah Al-Baqarah, we covered that. MashaAllah. That's why I wanted to go over the Quran, the tafsir from the beginning till the end. A lot of times we might take tafsir of surahs here and there. You can take the tafsir of Quran out of order. It's not going to be confusing. A lot of times you take just tafsir of Juz' Amma, for example, because many Muslims study Juz' Amma, because it has the surahs with very short, easy ayahs. But I wanted to review with you the tafsir from the beginning so we can really get an idea of what's placed in the Quran and where. You have to remember that the Quran is not told as a linear narrative, meaning you cannot open the Quran and expect to just see a story from beginning to end, a story that starts at the beginning of the book and ends at the end of the book. It's not like that. The subjects of the Quran are dispersed throughout the Quran and split up into sections, pieces, and repeated sometimes with a detail in one spot that's not in another spot. I did talk to a non-Muslim, and maybe more than one, who said, I read the Quran, I didn't understand. But there are some, they said they read in the Quran, they understood it's very amazing. That's true. You're not going to understand if you approach it thinking it's like the Bible, just having a long story from the beginning until the end. It's not like that. So Moses here is talking to his people. يا قوم ادخلوا الأرض المقدسة التي كتب الله لكم. O my people, enter the holy land that Allah has decreed for you. ولا ترتدوا على أدباركم فتنقلبوا خاسرين. And do not turn on your backs and change into losers. Do not flee out of cowardice. Do not turn on your heels and run away, defeated by the colossal tyrants. قالوا يا موسى إن فيها قوما جبارين. They said, Oh Moses, surely in that land is a tyrant folk from the remnants of Ad, giant and powerful. Yani they were afraid. وَإِنَّا لَن نَّدْخُلَهَا حَتَّى يَخْرُجُوا مِنْهَا. And surely we shall not enter it until they exit from it without a fight. فَإِن يَخْرُجُوا مِنْهَا فَإِنَّا دَاخِلُونَ. So, if they exit it, then indeed shall we enter. Yani we're not going to go in there unless they come out without a fight. Then we'll go in. So that's not how the nation of Muhammad is, not his companions nor those who came after them. But that is how the Jews are still, though. Yani, they are cowards. It's confirmed in the Quran and it's confirmed from their actions. You see, how are they? They will strap up, put on yani, helmets, bulletproof vest, everything, guns, everything, taser, rope, everything, and then they go pick on a kid. They'll go find a kid to pick on. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. قال رجلان من الذين يخافون أنعم الله عليهم ادخلوا عليهم الباب. Said two men who fear, and Allah endowed upon them, enter the gateway upon them. So they stood up amongst their people to encourage them to fight. Those were Joshua and Caleb. They said to their people, فَإِذَا دَخَلْتُمُوهُ فَإِنَّكُمْ غَالِبُونَ. For when you enter it, you shall be victorious. They knew that because Musa informed them. وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَتَوَكَّلُوا إِن كُنتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ. And upon Allah rely if you are believers. قالوا يا موسى إنا لن ندخلها أبدا ما داموا فيها. They said, "Oh Moses, we shall not enter it ever. We will never go in there, so long as they are in it, so long as they are there." فَاذْهَبْ أَنْتَ وَرَبُّكَ فَقَاتِلَا. So go, you and your Lord, and fight. إِنَّا هَاهُنَا قَاعِدُونَ. Surely, we right here are sitting. We will be sitting right here. You go fight, and your Lord can help you fight, and we'll be sitting right here. Some scholars said that's kufr statement. فَاذْهَبْ أَنْتَ وَرَبُّكَ فَقَاتِلَا. You and your Lord go fight. Some said that's kufr. Some said it's not explicit kufr. Not explicit means doesn't have to be kufr. Could mean something that's not kufr. قال رب إني لا أملك إلا نفسي وأخي. Moses said, "My Lord, I do not control but myself and my brother." فافرق بيننا وبين القوم الفاسقين. So separate us from the nefarious folk. Musa's supplication either means distinguish between us by giving us what you have promised us and give those others what they deserve, and that would be a dua against them. Or it means, "Oh Allah, put distance between us and them and spare us from their company." How disappointed Musa was, alayhi salatu wassalam. But this is the task that Allah gave him, and it is his duty to fulfill his task. In dealing with these Israelites, قال فإنها محرمة عليهم 40 سنة. Said God, surely it is forbidden for them for 40 years. That land is forbidden for them for 40 years. It may be asked, what is the meaning of Allah ordaining that land for them and naming that land for them if they are to be deprived of it? The meaning is that its being their settlement is dependent on their fighting its people for it. Meaning, it was a settlement for them that Allah named for them, but it wasn't free. They had to pay for it by fighting its people for it. So when they refused to fight, they were deprived. What's similar to that? What's similar to that is the Battle of Uhud, when the Muslims were promised the victory. And then the archers left their positions. And then the Muslims didn't see that they got the victory they were promised. And the reason was not because there wasn't a promise, rather because they did not stick to the plan. They were supposed to stick to the plans, not that the promise comes regardless. So, like that, these people, they didn't stick to the plan, so they didn't get the outcome. They didn't get the promise. It may mean that their deprivation is a duration of 40 years, and after that, what was ordained shall be. Yani, they're being deprived here doesn't mean forever. And since it doesn't mean forever, it's still valid that the promise is in effect. Musa moved on with who remained of the children of Israel. And Joshua, he was the one who later conquered the colossal tyrants and lived in the Holy Land until Allah took his soul. That's when the children of Israel settled there. And that's why they believe, now the Jews believe, that that land is theirs. فَإِنَّهَا مُحَرَّمَةٌ عَلَيْهِمْ 40 سَنَةً. Surely it is forbidden for them for 40 years. The 40 years is either linked to the deprivation or their wandering. Yani, either they will be deprived for 40 years, or it means they will wander for 40 years. If it includes the deprivation, the verse means the Holy Land is forbidden for them for 40 years. They shall wander in the earth confused. And if it refers to their wandering, then the verse means the Holy Land is forbidden for them, period. For 40 years they shall wander confused. Meaning, what we're saying here is, you can stop on the ayah in different spots. So you can recite it this way. فَإِنَّهَا مُحَرَّمَةٌ عَلَيْهِمْ. Stop. 40 سَنَةً يَتِيهُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. So that way it would mean, surely it is forbidden for them, period. For 40 years they shall wander in the land. Or you can recite it like this. فَإِنَّهَا مُحَرَّمَةٌ عَلَيْهِمْ 40 سَنَةً. Surely it is forbidden for them for 40 years. يَتِيهُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. They shall wander the land. Wander in the land. Thus, when reciting the verse, one must not stop at both spots. Rather, he may stop at one of the two spots. Stop at one or the other. So when we do the ayah itself is there. You can read it one way or the other way. But when you translate it or try to produce the meaning, then it's not miraculous like the Quran is miraculous. So I'm not able to, in the translation, really express how the ayah is so versatile, especially using punctuation marks. The punctuation marks actually are indication for the recitation of the Arabic. So when we put the period here, then that means this recitation is stopping here. 40 سنة. Stop. يتيهون في الأرض. And if we wanted, we could take this part here, put it down here. For 40 years they shall wander in the land, and put the period here. Well, we're not going to. Yeah, we'll leave it as it is. So take that as a reminder for you that the translation is not the Quran. The Quran is in Arabic. And that's one spot of many spots like this, where it's clear by that the Quran is only in Arabic. يَتِيهُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ فَلَا تَأْسَ عَلَى الْقَوْمِ الْفَاسِقِينَ. They shall wander in the land, so do not be sad over the nefarious folk. Musa regretted supplicating against them. So it was said to him, do not be sad about the nefarious folk. It means do not feel bad for them. They are major sinners. And it was during this time of wandering that Allah would send to them the manna and the quails. So the manna was some bread substance that rained on them from the sky. It was edible, as if Allah made bread fall from the sky for them. And the quails, quails are birds. So Allah would send birds to them every day so that they could have meat. And while they were wandering, there was a cloud that shaded them. And their clothing that they had grew with their bodies. Subhanallah, those Israelites, their story is really something. Wallahu a'lam. Let's stop there. Do you have any question I can answer for you?
Yes, Sheikh, I had a question.
Yes.
It is in regards to the nighttime. When does nighttime begin?
Nighttime begins when the sun goes down at Maghrib.
And it ends at Subah?
Yes.
Is this consensus?
I don't know.
Barakallahu feekum, Sheikh.
I mean, wafikum. But it's not the saying of the astronomers or astronomers. Yeah, I think astronomers. Always get astronomy and astrology mixed up. It's not the saying of the astronomers. It's the saying of the fuqaha. According to the fuqaha, and I don't know if they have a consensus here, nighttime is over at dawn. According to astronomers, nighttime is over at sunrise. So the dawn is part of the nighttime, according to them.
Barakallahu feekum, Sheikh.
I mean, wafikum.
Who are the hukumat?
Who are the fuqaha? Fuqaha means the scholars.
Yes, Sheikh. Barakallahu feekum, Sheikh.
I mean, wafikum. But we're not going to take the word of some people who are not Muslim scholars for explaining the matters of the religion. Some people, their position is that there are things like, to know the answer for them, then you should refer to the doctors, and to know, or you should refer to the mathematicians, or you should refer to the geographers, or like that, you should refer to the astronomers, etc. They say those people are the experts of those fields. And their mistake is that they think that the word of those people are applied to the religion, and then they base religious judgments off of the words of people who don't even know halal and haram. No, rather, for religious matters, you refer to the fuqaha, the scholars of fiqh. Like, for example, when it comes to details of menstruation, do you refer to the doctors or you refer to the fuqaha? You refer to the fuqaha. Or when it comes to facing the direction of the qibla, do you refer to the geographers or you refer to the fuqaha? You refer to the fuqaha. And like that for all the things.
Barakallahu feekum, Sheikh.
I mean, you said when you mentioned the name Joshua and Caleb, are they both prophets? No, only Joshua was a prophet. Caleb was not a prophet. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك